Okay, so there's two things that's obviously in my mind. One is, since there's this situation where I'm basically Asian, but this African family raised me in Africa, and they never told me where my parents were, my lineage, which country, specific ethnicity, and they're always pretending to be my family, and I disowned them in 2016. And not only are they not my race, but they've abused me ever since my childhood, ruined my whole life. They practice witchcraft, so they work with demons to target me. They don't know who I am, but they're just evil people. They have narcissistic personality disorder, sociopath, and psychopathic disorder. They have a lot of weird, curses in their family, a lot of weird problems they just have generation to generation. So it's one of the most demonic human beings you could ever be able to witness. It's not strange that they would lie to me and try to force their race on me, and just stalk me all across the United States. And, right, they're in Somalia, so they're Somali. This episode, the point I'm trying to make is I'm trying to study what happened in the 1990s. So there seems to be a connection. Obviously, I'm not born 1980s. I'm born 1990s. The question is, since I know they had a fake birthday for me, right? 1993, October 8th. I think that's fake. Also because I'm extremely young if you observe me. I don't look like I was born 1993. That's very strange to me, you know? So I don't think I was born that year. It's possible I'm not. Doesn't that would mean I'm 31? Do I look like a 31-year-old to you guys? So that's one thing I was always unhappy about. They told me I was born 1993. I never felt that way. So whatever they tell me is always a lie. So the one way God always guides me, even thinks about his religion as corruption, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, anything, God just makes me hate it. He makes me uncomfortable with it. That's how he guides me first. It's that strong feeling of gut saying that's not rational. When I dig it up, then I get more wisdom, or God shows me supernatural ways of proving it to me. So as a kid, right, growing up, it's not rational, because right now maybe you could have reasons like, oh, I don't look like it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that doesn't mean it's true. But I'm talking about when I'm young, when I'm like 10 years old, 15, like that, when I'm actually young. I didn't believe that I was born 1993. Does that make sense then, guys? Why would a young person think like that, right? Because it doesn't make sense. Well, why would I just have an opinion of that? That has to be God guiding me. There's no way I'm born that year. If I am, fine, but I just don't think so. So they gave me another birthday, which is 1996. That means I'm then 28. That's the one that's on my U.S. certificate. Not certificate, goodness. Citizenship. So I'm a U.S. citizen now, right? A long time ago. Became a citizen a while ago. I grew up in the U.S., yes. But they first took me to Somalia, then Kenya, which are two African countries. So since everything about my background, right? They forged it, they lied, they created fake birth certificates in Somalia, and obviously they got destroyed a long time ago. And then they, on top of that, created a fake names for themselves, fake birthdays for themselves, and came to this country with it. There's just nothing about this family you can ever trust. You get me? They're just liars. So on top of that, I'm studying the Middle East, what happened, you know? I don't, you get me? Okay. Since demons follow me ever since before my birth, that means they have to attack wherever I'm being born, before I'm even there. So how come the Middle East was under attack from 1990? Again, they had some issues 1980s too, I know, but just specifically, it was like endless. 1990 to, I would say, 1997. It's just going on and on and on and on, right? All this civil war, all this fighting, all this bombing, you know? So I just like to put the puzzle together and be a detective, right? We cannot obviously separate that. Maybe my parents died and they just adopted me that way. Maybe they stole me, because I've seen a lot of Arabs have this experience because I think I'm Arab. I've seen them have this experience where those females, when they give birth, like 5 minutes later, their children is taken away. And the nurses lie to them and they steal the baby. I don't think this family adopted me. I think they committed a crime. You know, I think they stole me as a baby. I'm not trying to be funny. You can feel it when people adopted you. It feels comfortable. No, it feels like they're scared of something. They're frightened. They're scared to death. So they had to, right, committed a huge crime of how they even got the baby, and not just, right, lying about the baby's identity, right? Trying to force their African race on me and giving me African identity all my life, making me feel sick my whole life growing up around them in their countries. That's evil. That's one of the worst sins you can commit. It's a sin to adopt people and not tell them their identity. You are not their parent. It's evil. So this stuff is common, therefore, between Africa and the Middle East, especially since they're both Muslim, right? It's not hard to see that if the Middle East is going through so much war, and some of these Africans, it's so easy for them to go to Saudi Arabia because of Hajj. And I'm gonna, update what I said about that father, that family, his kids used to say about him. They said that he went to Saudi Arabia to do Hajj. They didn't mean he worked there. That was like a misunderstanding. And I remember it was a flashback. It was something they said around me, because those were not the human. It was the demons possessing them to say it. Because God makes these demons say things so I can figure it out one day. So I remember they basically was saying he went to Saudi, right, to do Hajj and stuff, right? It's not hard, right, if you're African, to go to the Middle East, if, right, you enter their religion at some point in history. So then that's the only reason why they'd go to Saudi Arabia, everyone, to do the Hajj. And I'm telling you right now, God is guiding me, right? I haven't gotten that confirmation that Kaaba, right? The Kaaba, that black stone, is obviously idol worship. Islam basically is just the same religion Jesus brought down. Just the name and everything has been misconstrued, and the Bible was corrupted. Okay, the same type of evil human beings, this time in the Asian race versus European. Those evil human beings brought back their nonsense. And it's not hard to see, right? Europeans used to call past people sons of gods. Okay, it's not hard to see then how they connected Jesus to being a god and corrupted it that way. The Arabs didn't really say things like, oh, someone's a son of God. Instead, they actually just worship idols. They're just pagan. So see, it makes sense then that after Prophet Muhammad is no longer here, they went back to pagan worship. They have a black rock and they just circle it like crazy lunatics. Why would God tell you to circle a rock? What kind of nonsense? So God is going to destroy that black stone, everyone. You just wait for a lot of great things. So you know what I mean? It's not strange. It's not hard to see that even my age is the problem. I can't figure out what year I was born, and that's not fair. Do you know how much sin this family committed against me? Do you know what type of hell I'm going to ask God to put them in? They don't know what's coming. How dare they even erase my birthday from me, And you guys would agree that's very logical. If you stole someone illegally, this is an Asian or Arab kid specifically, you're African, you're an evil specific type of African family. You committed a crime to put them into your family. They don't look like you, but it's another race, and you're constantly trying to force your race on them. And okay, you give them a fake identity and all this, and you abuse them all throughout childhood. All of you, the whole family, just scapegoat this person. All you do is lie about their past and lie about everything about them. You stalk them all throughout the United States and online after they disowned you. Like, it's not hard to understand what's going on. They're not just evil. They're trying to hide something. Just like they're trying to accuse me of mental illness or some sort of crime or something, which is their own quality. They're narcissistic. That is a psychological disorder. So they want to accuse you of their own qualities in order to cover up the way that they have committed nothing but crime against me and each other. So that's usually what narcissistic families do. They like to label the victim mentally ill because that's just the only way they think they can get away with it. Okay, so anyways, they're demons, everyone. They're not human, okay? Demons are following me through them. And they can't do anything to me. It's just something God puts me through to learn things. But it's one of those things where now I'm thinking, it makes sense why they're giving me 1993. Because it's like they have to hide the time that this old man went to Saudi Arabia, you know? Just him, you know? It's irrational. They don't want us to know what year he went there. And then what happened afterwards. The sort of details of them stealing me from my real family. And then, you know what I mean? Because if I knew my exact year that I was born, then it's easy for me to at least use that to gain some understanding of them, right? What happened in history. But if I don't even know the year I was born, the month I was born, the day I was born, and this family's trying to force themselves on me, right? They're not my family, but on top of that, they're not my race. Do you know how evil you are? How can you force your race on me? I'm a different... God have mercy. One thing that happened to me in Africa was I was very small, and this evil witch, this African old lady, was just staring at me from her house. And I remember I was just like 3, 4, 5 years old. And instantly I fainted because she put the evil eye on me. Evil eye happens because you think someone's too pretty, or you're just jealous of some sort of appearance of them. Okay? We're not saying this is okay for them to feel that way, but Africans, a lot of them are jealous of people who are light skin toned. Imagine putting me in such an environment where those types of evil humans are there. Okay, so the evil eye was put on me. And I remember I didn't just faint, my finger got caught up in the metal door. So like the first half of my finger got cut off. You don't know what hell I went through as a kid. So it's like that. I just remember essential flashbacks of essential things that help you figure out what the hell is going on. And I remember always complaining to that family about my skin color getting pigmented only sometimes, not always, but just sometimes, and in certain parts of my body. It's usually like my hands, maybe because of the sun, not my body. You know, my body doesn't get pigmented. It's like, I just remember all they would do is feel scared when I talk about my skin tone, you know, because they're African and I'm Asian, and my skin was just light when I was born, and because the evil eye, right? It's like it's trying to do that to me, basically. The evil eye is trying to pigment me. But then two, they would starve me. See? Do you see what's going on? Because if you develop iron deficiency anemia, which I developed before, it's easy. You can just, if you eat well, you won't have it anymore. It's that type of sickness. Each time the iron deficiency, like, right, I felt it, that I was developing it when I was living with them. It's like it was trying to take away my skin tone, you know? So then they can accuse me of being their race, as if I'm your race because of a skin tone. What the hell? People look different than you. Their genetic, everything is different. God doesn't just make our color different. Indians have a lot of so very dark toned people, right? A lot of Asians are very red, very orangey. Oh, who the hell cares? But it's just manipulation, everyone. They're just trying to force their race on me. God have mercy. You know? So why would I complain about that so much? You see? I complain because something evil is making my skin pigmented, like witchcraft, evil eye, demons following me. Does that mean they're going to convince me I'm African? No, I'm not African. How can you convince me? It's like trying to convince me I'm a tree when I'm a human. It doesn't matter. They just want to use it to verbally attack me. You get me? It's just psychological torture. So I always would complain about that. And they didn't know how to respond. They never, you know what I mean? They didn't say anything because they know something spiritual, something demonic was attacking my skin color, you know? If you starve someone and they don't eat very well, well, then they have low red blood cells. That can affect your melanin, you know? So no wonder that all they want to do is make me homeless and unemployed and make me not eat enough. I mean, you're working that hard to pigment me as a demon? So yeah, I have some ideas. Whoever's listening to me right now, you might be thinking, what are you going to do? Well, I'm smart, right? So I have some ideas as to what I obviously should do to figure out my background. Don't worry. But I picked, right, Saudi because I've just looked at their people, their appearance. I've looked at my body, my face, right? I don't think I'm some other ethnicity in Asia. But two, I also look Chinese to some degree. Who knows? Maybe they were mixed, but I don't think so necessarily. God knows. But I've always felt Chinese and okay, Arabs, not necessarily the other Asians. Yeah, I don't look like them in that way. So I also remember, since my hair is soft, right? And Africans have that situation where their hair is not always like that. The Eva family just had that thing where my hair was not allowed to grow. Can you believe that? Every time your hair grows a little bit, they shave it. They're so demonic. It was like some sacrifice or something. And yes, demons, humans who practice witchcraft, they take people's hair and do witchcraft to them. They take your DNA sample as a female, maybe your period pads. They need something from that person that connects to them, you know, like their DNA or something. The other thing was, every time that family had physical checkups, I remember this very vividly. The doctor would always take my blood, right? And they would say, wow, you're extremely healthy. Like, you have a lot of blood. But human beings usually don't have a lot of blood. I have a lot of blood. You know what I mean? In my body. So that really links to being extremely healthy. Okay, so that's a blessing. Fine. I remember always talking to them about my appearance, that my eyes are really big, you know? Um, so things like that, right? Things like the type of way my body is when it comes to blood. Those are right things about me that, again, has nothing to do with race, right? Other people can have a lot of blood. I know. I'm trying to tell you what the demons did. They observed my quality, right? Okay. What they did was, by causing me iron deficiency anemia, by starving me all my life as I lived with them, and then they put witchcraft on me, and complete strangers come to my job who are always African for some reason. So I don't think you and I have any problem understanding what the hell's going on. Africans are always bothering me. They always harass me. They always act perverted, nasty, and all they want to do is get me fired. So they're obsessed with my money. They're obsessed with jobs because that's how you take care of yourself. And every time I became homeless, right, and including when I had jobs, due to all the stress, these weird strangers I don't know keep targeting and following and harassing me. Um, and then they do that shifting, right? They shift the blame to you, even though they harassed you. Whether they're coworkers, customers, something evil is following me. It possesses these people and it makes them bother me. Because that family is doing the witchcraft. Their demons are the ones who sort of like know you. Okay. So even though I disown them, right, and you would think my life is going to be nice, okay, they're still following me using demonic attachment. They're calling on demons and they're summoning demons and talking to them and telling them to curse me and follow me. So, okay, all those other bad people like them would just harass me as long as it's something to do with money, like my money. So I could never have a job and be okay. There was always a lot of hatred and harassment and envy. But they always used Africans anyway. Then at some point, just bad people of other races. Okay. But guess what the point was? Exactly. To cause me to lose my job so that you don't eat. So that then they starve you again. And that starvation now, you're so thin, you lose a lot of red blood cells. You develop iron deficiency anemia again. It always pigments your skin. But then two, exactly, I lose a lot of blood, everybody. I lose a lot of blood. So it's like they're watching my qualities, even the ones that, right, just humans could have of a certain group and not others. And it's not about race. And it's like they're just obsessed with taking away what makes me distinct than other people overall, right? And since I'm Asian, then they're just trying to use manipulation to force their race on me. There's a lot of Africans that could just have a little light skin tone, right? But their body is African, just their skin is a little lighter. Okay, they would act like they try to force that on me, you know. So I can't believe that this race is obsessed with other races. Because I don't want you guys to think this is just bad people, what they do. Yeah, a lot of bad people hide sometimes 40, 50 years after that person that was adopted. After they've lived with these evil, abusive people who adopted them or stole them illegally, then they find out, right, they're not related to them. Because for them, it was the same race, etc. I know bad people do the same thing, yes. But my point of this episode is to tell you guys, the human race, that there's actually a group of Africans who are obsessed with other races now. So this is actually a sin they're only committing. Because some of them are jealous of light skin color. So they're actually intentionally adopting European and Asian people and then trying to manipulate these children all throughout their life to believe that there's some African like them. So there's actually an evil coming up. You get me? You're going to start to see that widespread. And only the past month that God was telling me, right? That's when I started to see Africans with white children or European children. And I felt uncomfortable. You know, I don't believe we should allow people of a different race to adopt people of a different race. To me, that's evil, just so you human beings know. I don't want those people losing their heritage, right? People trying to force their skin color on them because some humans could be pigmented like Indians. What if an African adopts them and they're like, you're like us? That's dangerous. We need some boundaries so that human beings, their rights are maintained. God made us different races for a reason. We need to be where we are. So, right, the way the Europeans would do evil is different. Okay, the way the Asians would do evil, okay, it's different. But Africans, for them, it's just a little worse. I think the way demons are using them is more harmful than others. Because others, they just abuse the person they adopted. They just try to force them to, you just from their people. Fine. But you're African. Naturally, the way God created you, you're dark toned. How are you trying to force an Asian person that they're from your family? How evil and dumb must you be? You see what I mean, everyone? It's more evil. Because why are you even trying to attempt something that's not logical? Putting witchcraft on that person. Cursing the way they eat and live and their health. How dare you? So I believe we should forbid people from adopting people of another race. Your own race should adopt you. You won't lose your heritage that way. You just don't have your specific parents. Maybe those parents were rapists. Okay, fine. But at least you're where you belong. You're with your race. But I'm not happy with the fact that these people, even if they were good, that I was raised by them. I'm not happy with the fact that it's a different race than me. I don't like it. It makes me sick. I don't like it. I'm not going to hide that from you. It's too much trauma, and I don't like it. But also the fact that a lot of them are very evil, and they're jealous of people who are light skin tone. Well, then obviously they're going to abuse you a different way that other people don't abuse you. So that's another reason why we should not allow them, human beings, to adopt a different race. It's not funny. Anytime I saw those African women with this white kid, it just made me anxious. I know she's going to abuse the kid. I know the kid doesn't know how the personality of their race is. She's going to teach them all the ways that they speak as African Americans. Their sort of way that they speak with each other and cuss each other out, even at their children. They just beat each other. It's not fair to that kid, their race doesn't raise them like that. You're taking away from them what it feels like to be raised by their own race. You know, everyone, we should think about these things. It's also morality. Humans have the right to be who they are. You can't take that from them. Oh, this nonsense of, oh, it's love, it's kindness. Let's help each other. No, there should be boundaries. And the fact that they think they shouldn't tell you you're adopted or how they got you, now we have more problems of immorality. Please don't ignore it and think about it. But I want human beings to think about these things before God sends down the truth and, his laws again. But I don't want God to ever be like, it's okay that an African adopts an Asian or European and vice versa. I don't like it. Every race has like their own personality. You and I know Africans are different than Asians and Europeans. Asians and Europeans are more like very gentle in their personality, but Africans are rough. So that obviously traumatizes me, being with people who are just rough all the time. That's their thing. Fine, who cares? God made you like that. But I'm not like that. You traumatize me. How would have my parents or my people spoke to me on a day-to-day basis? That gentleness, like that's what you stole from me. My culture, my language. That's not fair. We should just help children. But you should not be making another race adopt them. That's not fair. I'm sick and tired of that. Identity is important.